Hi, this is Ed Cohen, your broadcast host on Global TV Network. I'm in San Diego. We have a terrific show today, and it's all about reset. Now, what the heck does that mean? You know, can you reinvent yourself? Can you become a hologram of yourself? What is the future? Well, we don't know, especially whether we're talking about this crazy election coming up or whether the fires will stop here in California. We just don't know what's going to happen. But if you can imagine yourself into that new place, the new now, with new skills, like for instance, 6 months ago, I didn't know how to do this kind of a show. And so here I am. This is number 53 since mid-March. So I'm beginning to stare at that camera thing and rather than at my friends on the screen here. So if I'm looking around too much with eyes darting here and there, you'll know why. So we have an interesting show today. It's about rebranding, reset, reinventing yourself or your image or your product line. Is it possible to reinvent yourself? Well, the scientists say, yeah, you have to imagine yourself how you want to be, and then you've got to fake it till you make it. But not really. You have to do things step by step, inch by inch, to build up your self-confidence. And we have experts in that regard with us today. So first of all, I want to make introductions. This is a networking opportunity as well as education. So use that chat and send your website or your LinkedIn page or your email to each other if you want. Okay, put these back on. So I want to introduce Karlton Hoskins, who's an entrepreneur and a really good guy. You'll get to know him in just a moment. Karlton and I met a couple of weeks ago on a show here with Dr. Natalie Forrest. And Karlton, please say hello, welcome yourself, and introduce yourself and what you do right now.
Hello, good morning, and welcome, everyone. My name is Karlton Hoskins, and I am a technology geek, if you will. I love technology. I love the use of technology to rebrand, to reinvent ourselves. So I've actually built a software that helps coaches to work automatedly versus working in person, saves time, allows them to deal with more clients. And so my mission is to help more small businesses survive the death rate. So it's a pleasure to meet everyone, and I look forward to learning more and sharing all that I have.
So many of us on the show don't know each other, and Ken is our mystery guest in the background. Ken, are you still there?
I'm still here. Unfortunately, with no video, but yeah, I'm still here.
All right. So are you having power outages in Midtown Manhattan or what?
We actually moved into as a lot of offices are decreasing. We expanded into new office space yesterday, so still working through some technology issues internally here. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, okay, Ken, why don't you introduce yourself? Let me just say that Ken is an executive with Primestone Partners based in Manhattan, and it's a big-time operation. Ken, why don't you go into some detail?
Sure. So I'm the Chief Development Officer for Primestone Partners. We have two divisions, really servicing two different segments of different markets. One is at an advisory side, where we are helping companies grow from, whether it's crisis management or young companies raise a whole bunch of money and you need a senior leadership team to come in to help them grow, say from 50 million to 200 million, and many different scenarios. Or if there's a partnership situation, you want to, buy someone out as a partnership. And so that's the advisory side of things. I would look at it as more of like a boutique. If you think Mercer or Accenture or those big companies, were miniature, high level part of that. And the executive team that we have, our CEO is a former chairman of Freddie Mac. The COO is a former CFO of Morgan Stanley Global. So the leadership team and the finance side is quite extensive. For me personally, I've been really on the housing side of the business, which is Primestone Housing Solutions, where really it's the one-on-one of corporate housing, the extended stay market of, from someone relocating for 30 days or longer, whether it's in New York, whether it's in, Milan, Italy, or Shanghai or LA, and really taking that business. We started that brand of the business in January, and we're expanding rapidly. We did put things on a hold, more of a pause during the peak of the COVID, especially in New York in March and April, because we were so impacted. But we see the light at the end of the tunnel, and we're looking to expand this quite extensively.
Okay, I want to mention that I've known Ken for 20 years, and we've done many things together in business. Ken, about New York City, are things picking up?
Yeah, so it's so exciting. We actually, they announced yesterday at 1 p.m. Eastern time that New York restaurants are finally opening up by 25% capacity within 2 weeks. So you have to realize restaurants have not been open here for 5 or 6 months. And, it's devastating between the riots and the restaurant closures and, no one, if you asked me 2 months ago, walking in Midtown Manhattan, which I did, it was a scary sight because no one was around. So I can tell you now, New York is a great city that bounces back quickly usually. Things are starting to open up. We have some executives from Morgan Stanley that we do business with, and originally Morgan Stanley said no one's going to be coming back to the office for the rest of the year. They were saying that 3 months ago. What we're hearing, especially from my boss, his circle of colleagues are chairmen and CEOs, that the first 3-4 months of everyone working from home was working, but now the last several months, companies are not producing as much as they wanted to. So they're seeing that many companies are, not full capacity, but at least like the red green card scenario, half staff, coming in and rotating that way. But I can tell you the buildings in New York City are hyper focused on obviously safety for everyone and from the mask wearing to temperature controls when you walk in a building. There's some companies that are investing in metal detectors now that actually do it automatically, that test your oxygen level and your temperature. That's affiliated with your ID card, so you can't even get into the building if you wanted to, if those items are off. So
it's really interesting. Okay, so Ken, I want to announce that Primestone Partners has become a sponsor of our talk show. Thank you very much. And we'll do more about that in just a moment. Okay, I want to introduce Nick Curtin, who's joined us from San Diego here, actually Coronado, just across the bridge. So Nick, thanks for being on the program. Please tell people about the destination services counseling that you do.
Sure. Thanks, Ed. Always a pleasure to attend one of your shows. And I've been working in destination services for over 10 years. And currently I work with corporations and destination service providers, generally in recruiting, training, or improving skills of the local area consultants across the U.S. And I do walk the talk. I am also a destination service consultant here in the San Diego area. I was in Los Angeles for many years. So I do work personally with international employees coming into the U.S. and we are their best friends for about the first 2 months they're here on the grad.
Yeah. Okay, Nick, if you have a headset, it probably would be a little clearer.
Okay.
We heard you, but there was some muffling. I want to get back to you in just a second. I want to introduce from New Orleans, Melinda Stallings, who's a keynote speaker, has been on our talk show. She's written a book, which is a wonderful book called Positive.
The Power of Positive Conflict Resolution.
Yeah, that's great.
Mouthful.
Yeah, it is. But boy, it says a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah. Hi, Ed and everybody. Thank you for having me participate a little bit here with you all. Ed, can I tell them a little bit about the hurricane efforts we have going on?
Yeah, this is really interesting. On the ground in New Orleans area.
Yeah, it's actually in Lake Charles, which is the opposite side of the state, but Lake Charles was hit by a Category 4 hurricane which meant that we had sustainable winds, not just wind gusts, but sustainable winds between 155 and 185 miles per hour. So Lake Charles is virtually wiped out. And so for the past 2 weeks, it's really been boots on the ground. A little bit of their frustration has been that the media covered it, but since there wasn't this horrific flooding, loss of life, they kind of move on to the next tragedy. And so they're really in dire straits. The city was pretty much leveled, to be honest with you. There are many people who don't even have a home to go back to. They don't know where it went. There were many, many tornadoes, and with winds of that magnitude, you can imagine that things just literally blew away. So we've been accepting donations, and with those donations, we have been going and purchasing the things they need because there are no stores, there's no gas stations, there's nothing. So we have been, for the past, week and a half, we've been coordinating efforts, and we've been purchasing with the donations plastic bins, Clorox wipes, which are gold in and to themselves nowadays, anything that you can think of, garbage bags, bug spray, brooms, mops, fly swatters, just anything and everything that you would need that you can think of if the worst possible thing that could ever happen to your house or to your community, and you would have to clean it up. And we've been getting some really great response. I'm telling you, gang, humanity is alive and well. Say what you want, and I'm really so excited about that. It just fills my heart. And they're so grateful. And the beautiful part about it is when you talk with the people that are there in Lake Charles, it's not, oh, woe is me, what's going to happen, what are we going to do? I mean, they're a little bit upset about losing their house, but they're like, you know what? It's stuff. We have our family, we have our health, we can rebuild this. Man, what a great attitude of gratitude, right? And the focus. So I would really appreciate your prayers for that area. Also the fires. I mean, y'all, there's stuff everywhere that people are battling through. But I'll also, if with Ed's permission, just let you know where you can send money for donations.
Please do, yes.
I'm just actually accepting money for donations so I can go and purchase everything through my Venmo. It's Melinda -S-1. I can send you something, a letter that says you contributed. I don't know if the taxes will write off or not, but you'll know that you'll be doing a really great service for people who are trying to, I can't even say rebuild a life. I think it's going to be like make a new life. And then on top of this, we have the pandemic. And so there's, you're working in, the heat index the other day was 113 degrees. And they're mucking their houses and their businesses. And so, yeah, really would appreciate the prayers for sure.
Well, thank you. And so is there a tax deductible thing by donating directly to Red Cross and earmarking it for that charity?
I would recommend that you go to the local charities rather than Red Cross. And there are the entity that I'm working with directly, because she's a business colleague through SHRM, Society of Human Resource Management, is Blue Cross, not Blue Cross, Big Brothers Big Sisters. They have 120 children who have been displaced throughout the United States because there's nowhere for them to go to be serviced during this rebuild time. And you can go to BBBS, I think it's BBBS SWLA. And then there's also, if you will click on the United Way, and there is a, I believe it says I believe it's Southwest Louisiana United Way. You might have to do a little bit of hunting, and I'll try and find that while other people are talking so we can.
Okay, so we have a chat here. If you could type that out in the chat for everybody.
Let me get the exact email address so they can send directly to them or to me, either one.
Yeah,
we're making another run this weekend. So the problem is, it's great to send money, but they don't have anywhere to go purchase the supplies.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So
thank you, Ed, for that avenue to do so.
I'm so on your side. So I have to tell you that last century, when I was in the Army Reserve, I was a medic, and the basic training that I went on, this was during the Vietnam era, was in Fort Polk, Louisiana,
Oh, wow.
which is just north of Lake Charles.
Yeah. And Fort Polk is still in existence, one of the few.
Yeah, so it didn't get blown away, huh?
You know, I really haven't heard that much about it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's top secret.
I think they kept Fort Polk so they could train for subtropic climates and the bugs and animals that they might encounter somewhere else.
Yeah, it was all there. I have to tell you, we were there between like January and April, which is brutally cold and humid
wet.
and wet.
Cold.
And they use that area for training to go to Vietnam because it was similar, other than the hot.
Yeah. I believe it. Yeah.
So anyway, I'm on your side there. I understand what that area is all about.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You are a professor of banking at LSU, Louisiana State University in New Orleans, and you've got this book. So in about 30 seconds or so, we'll come back to you for more. If you can just do about 30 seconds, again, the title of the book and what's it about?
The book is The Power of Positive Conflict Resolution, How to Take Any Situation from Breakdown to Breakthrough. And it is about a positive approach. It gives you a step-by-step process of working through any kind of situation, whether it's change, communication. This book is just the first of those books, and it's about conflict resolution. But it's been practically proven to work. I've delivered this for about 15 years to corporations throughout the United States, and it is positively powerful if you just begin to practice the methodology that goes with it.
Well, there's so much of that needed. Please stick with us, and I know you're busy, so if you need to check out, it's not like the Hotel California. You can leave anytime. Okay, great. Okay, so from Toronto, Olivia, thank you so much for coming back on the show. So you are very well known and getting more well known all the time as a result of this distribution, but on being the PR business, Prime Communications. Tell us a little bit about Prime and your background and how it relates to what you want to do going forward.
Sure. So hi, everybody. Hi from Toronto. I'm probably the only Canadian on the line, but hey, everybody. It's great to be here. Thanks again for the opportunity to be with you guys today. So I'm the founder and CEO of Prime Communications, which is a corporate communications business specializing in global mobility. So we specialize in customized and compelling and strategic content for relocation management companies and mobility service providers. So Lena, who's on the line here with me, supporting me, she's also in the industry. She's also very well known, and she's an expert in immigration and relocation out of Sweden. And she is one of my clients and one of my friends. So it's also great to see her here. So that's a little bit about what I do, and happy to be here once again.
Thank you. Okay, Lena, thank you very much for joining us. I think this is your third time on Global TV. Thank you. How's things in Stockholm today?
Oh, well, things are really good in Stockholm today. The sun has been out. It's getting colder. But no, I would say what is good news for everyone that is in the relocation and immigration industry is that the wheels have started turning again this week. So I think that's really good news. Borders are opening up, even though maybe the virus numbers are also going up in a lot of countries around Europe. There's a will and a drive amongst people to stay safe, but to keep going and keep working and going to work. So I think that's really hopeful. I feel much better about the future this week than I did last week.
Okay, that's great. Okay, now very, very special is this old friend of mine who's very, very vibrant. MaryLou, thank you very much for being a featured guest today. MaryLou, about branding. We're talking about branding. That's your specialty today. Self-branding, not product branding, but you are a product, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So the thinking behind reinventing is what? Just imagining yourself doing something different and then working towards it?
I think that's basically the idea. You start out with what are you all about, knowing yourself, and the rebranding would come. Let's say you've changed during this time. Maybe you've developed some new skills, you've learned something new, you've worked on projects that are very different from what you've worked on before. So it's time to let people know about that because that is a part of your brand now. It's kind of a new facet that you've developed. So why not let the world know about it?
So I'm looking at notes here. So how do you differentiate yourself from others without seeming like you're putting somebody down?
The most important thing is when you know yourself, you want to show how you've contributed in a way that's unique. Maybe it's a project that you've worked on or a program that you've put together. For example, in these times, you might be thinking about how can managers handle remote employees? And so you begin to take those elements and put them together to share with others. And that differentiates you from someone who maybe didn't take the time to study how to manage a remote worker. So that would be the differentiation part.
In dealing with executives, and I know that's your specialty, are you facing resistance?
Yes, many times I am facing resistance. I might deal with an executive who is going through an outplacement program and having to look for a job after many years of being with one company. And those people have a rough time trying to come to terms with what they're good at and expressing it in a way that people nowadays would understand. There's so much that went into their background and experience. They have to start thinking about what is the market demand and how can I meet that demand? And many times they have skills that are very much needed. So it's such a hopeless situation. It's actually rather hopeful.
Yeah. Ken, are you still with us?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So does this resonate with you in the changes that you've gone through?
Yeah, absolutely. MaryLou definitely touched on some good points as really reinventing yourself, reinventing your business, reinventing the services you offer. You have to do things like that, especially through what a lot of people have gone through this COVID times. Your business as of March 11th was going in one way, right, and you have to completely transform it, September 10th. Just the way, just the whole real estate market as a whole in New York. Before real estate agents would actually go with people doing tours in person, they couldn't do that for 6 months. How do they still make an income? How do they, and that's where the technology, the virtual tours and all of that became huge because there was no other way of really marketing the units.
Yeah. Karlton, how does this all resonate with you and what you're doing with Dr. Natalie?
I think this is spot on. MaryLou hit it dead on the head, and it applies to entrepreneurs as well as the business coaches that are out there. Being able to, how did Ken so eloquently put it, being able to go out and work with your clients face-to-face has become almost impossible. Either the clients don't want to meet at local coffee shops or the coaches don't want to go out because whatever the reason is, I don't want to wear a mask or because of COVID or because the stores are closed, right? So the change that happens in the business coaching world and for entrepreneurs is how do I still get to a coach? How do I still get assistance? And that has to happen through technology. And well, business coaching began back in 1856, right? So that whole model of coaching has been around until March. It hasn't changed until March. And so now March requires everyone to figure out a new model because you can't go out and do the referral networks as you were doing, going to the 1 Million Cups and going to the chamber meetings and all of these other events. Everyone is forced to go to technology and utilize online services to communicate. But an entrepreneur's perspective is always, I need to see my coach. I need that person to sit with me and explain it to me. And in this transitioning or this new now, the way that's going to work is for coaches to embrace new technology and allow the technology to work for them. So by, for example, if I needed Ken's advice or Olivia's advice or MaryLou's advice, I'm sure they can record whatever they were going to tell me and send it to me. Now, the benefit of that for any one of them is that they can share that content with 1,000 people. That means I don't have to go talk to 1,000 people. That means I can pick up another 1,000 clients. So as MaryLou put it so well, it's not really a problem. It's actually a benefit if they just look at it from a different view.
Yeah, Olivia, so your specialty is writing, but it's more than that, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, so so as part of my suite of services, I do corporate communications, which can be anything from requests for proposals, sales proposals, copywriting, white papers, articles, case studies. You get my flow here. So I like what Karlton said about social media, because that's one of the strategies that you can use during this age, this crazy pandemic that we're all going through, to gain some business. And actually that's what's worked for me. And so Ed, you and I talked about this global mobility survey that I conducted, and Lena knows about this because I leveraged Lena's organization as one of those respondents. And what I did was I surveyed 20 RMCs and mobility service providers to understand the type of impact that COVID has had on the marketing and communications functions for these organizations. And what I found, I look back at my survey because this was done a while back. So I was looking at the stats, and it looks like 73% of respondents believed and still believe that content creation is very important. So when we're going through a lull in our businesses or organizations or entrepreneurship, whatever it is that we do, we have to think that content creation is so important at the time that we're in right now. So when there is no business coming in or people are struggling and people are losing their jobs, what better way to put the spotlight on your organization than by creating content? And that's what I've seen work very well. For me, it's worked amazingly. And from this survey alone, I landed one client just like that, without any sort of pushy sales, because that doesn't work. So that is a method of exposing yourself as a subject matter expert in your industry and also gaining clients that way. So that's something that we can all implement. And what Karlton said about creating a video, yes, you have to share that. It's not just for one client or one employee, it's for everybody to see. And you can leverage that kind of content on your social media platforms, whether it's LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is that you decide to do. So I think it's a very effective method, and we should continue to think that content now and in the future is very important.
MaryLou, authenticity is king, isn't it?
Yes, although I want to just piggyback on what Olivia was saying, I have my little 6 proactive steps to stay relevant. 4 is create content. I am so very much into that. It's so important to let people know what you're thinking, whether writing an article for Medium or posting something at LinkedIn, participate in groups where you make a comment on pertinent information. So important, because it's letting people know, this is what I know about, this is what I have to offer. And people appreciate that. They want that content. Now, coming back to being authentic, and I want you to know, authentic won the Kentucky Derby.
That's right. Yeah.
I thought that was great, because I always talk about defining the authentic you for job and career. Because after all, you have to be yourself. And I'm going to quote Oscar Wilde, be yourself, everyone else is taken. After all, it's just a way to get in touch. This is what I'm about. And people do relate to that. I really think that if you can be your authentic self and convey that to people, they will get in touch with it. They will connect with it. I'm coaching people virtually. All my clients right now are virtual. And even with Zoom or Skype, there is a way to connect with someone. There is a way to let them share their truth, and you share what you have to offer them. And it can be very powerful. So I agree what Karlton said. We've got to be doing it virtually since we can't do it in person, but let's make the most of it. Let's make it meaningful for all.
Let's add to the global mindset here. Lena, please add to this.
Well, I agree with all of you. And I think it's so interesting how we have sort of broken free from tradition in a way. And when you were talking, Karlton, about your coaching of people on Zoom and the business coaching, we have been coaching people in a way. We're helping them with their immigration and relocation, and a great deal of what we do happens before we ever meet face to face. And with immigration, where we do work permits, we may never meet them face to face if we don't have the settling in portion. But I have such a great story. I met this woman this spring, and she was telling me she's a horseback rider, she's an equestrian. And what she has done for years, she has the really, really top trainers are hard to come by, and you don't want to travel too far with a horse because it's a pain. So for years, she's had a headset. She gets up on her horse. She has somebody filming her, and her coach is in a completely different country coaching her. So it can be done. And I thought that was genius. And this was right before COVID. It was about a week before the whole thing broke free. And now that is something that we are all doing. We are changing the way we're thinking about things. We don't have any boundaries, or at least not the same boundaries as we did before. And I just love this time because I think there's so much we can learn from it.
Yeah, Melinda.
Everybody's talking about the new normal, and I really detest that phrase, the new normal. But I do love, I'm resurrecting something from a long time ago, and that is a paradigm shift. And I think that's really what's happening to us. We're experiencing a paradigm shift. And to your point, and to my whole principle of being, are you looking at this in a positive light and what can happen and how you can be future focused and move forward and what gifts are coming from this? Or are you wallowing in, oh my God, things will never be the same? You're right, they won't. So we can either stay and wallow in that, or you can move forward with the revelations that are being given to you. How fortuitous for this woman that she started doing this remote training. I mean, so now she's already ahead of the game, right? And can model the way for others. And I think that's really important. And that's what I'm hearing from Olivia and MaryLou, that you all are so open to modeling the way for others, because there are people walking around out there that don't know what they don't know. And being able to be open and help people, that's fabulous. Yeah.
Yeah, Ken, in New York, in real estate, corporate housing, what you're trying to do now is something different from what you've done with Silverstein and with other groups, right?
Yeah, I mean, the way of the future, a lot of the companies, the traditional, for example, Oakwood, which was one of the oldest corporate housing companies that's been around for 55 years, it was going into buildings, signing long-term leases on those buildings, and then renting them out to clients. Unfortunately, there was that model is going away now because of, obviously, COVID was a big factor in that, affecting many different companies, having the vacancy, not able to fill them. Unfortunately, like in New York, even hotels, there was too many hotels, and unfortunately, these hotels are closing the doors and probably won't reopen again. But the ones that are doing it are coming up with creative ways to do either like rev share or a partnership between the developer and the operator, whether that is a parking garage, whether that's a storefront, whether that's a corporate housing company. That's definitely the way of the future, especially probably for the next 3 years or so. And that's, like Melinda mentioned, it's evolving and changing and thinking forward and not being the way things used to be, because probably things won't be this. But I actually look at this unfortunate situation with COVID and all the bad things around it. There's actually some good things going on, and it's the way we reinvent ourselves and the way we reinvent our companies to be competitive, be the industry leaders and coming up with new ideas. from whatever that industry you're in, whether it's mobility, whether it's immigration, whether it's corporate housing, temp housing like I am. It's funny when we spoke about, Lena had mentioned, by the way, my fellow Stockholm, I'm a Scandinavian from Norway, actually. So Scandinavians are the forward thinkers here. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Du är norsk. Yes.
Yeah.
So everyone's word today, the skål means cheers in Norwegian. So if you don't know it, now you do. But basically, it was funny, mid-March, me primarily focused really in sales and business development. My first meeting during COVID was in my car with a mask on, and the other client didn't get out of his car. We rolled our windows down, and that was the closest interaction I had for probably about 2 months. And what's refreshing is that fast forward 5 months from now I actually I can go to an outside area, have a cup of coffee, and have a dialogue with someone. And I've had that with several clients over the last, say, month or so. And that was the first time any of them have come out of their house. And it was so refreshing. So, are we going to have big conferences with thousands of people anymore? Maybe not. I mean, eventually we will, but I think every industry is changing, and it's so important that we all accept it. We embrace it, and we become really creative and put our entrepreneur hats on. And I think we'll all be in a much better place.
Yeah. So Melinda, this is all part of conflict resolution or disappointment resolution.
Yeah, and conflict begins where? Right here. I decide whether that's going to be an issue or that's not going to be an issue. And there are so many people who are so stuck in being in the rabbit hole that they don't know how to move into, okay, how can I even begin to clear my brain and see what the possibilities are? I want to talk about something that Karlton said, and that was, here's a possibility that the individuals have an opportunity now to record things. How beautiful is that I can go back now and listen. I'm sorry that you're here. Come back to me, Ed.
Okay.
Hold that thought.
Yeah, right. No, I saw your black cat take your jacket off the back of your chair, and I was wondering what would happen next. So now the doggy's coming in and taking over. So Karlton.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, speak.
No, I think everyone is saying the same thing. I mean, when we're faced with those who are resilient, those who are resilient, when they run into an issue, they find a solution. Those who are not, they're going to lay down and they're going to complain about the problem. And so we know there's a percentage of people in the population in the world who are those who are going to find a solution, and there are going to be those who do not. They're going to wait on those to find a solution. And for those individuals who are finding solutions, this is what I call the $1 billion hour. This is where new innovation comes out. This is where new products, new services, new companies, this is where they are developed, because there are innovative people amongst us who are trying to find solutions to their own problem. For me, it's kind of ironic. 5 years ago, I was looking at the failure rate of small businesses. And, 76% of businesses never make it to year 10 in the United States. So for me, that's a huge number. I think about that like children. If I had 4 children and they were all born on the same day, only one would make it to year 10. That's horrible. That's horrible stats. And so that's the business reality in the US aside from the pandemic. This is prior to the pandemic. And so prior to the pandemic, we started trying to figure out a way to help coaches, because there's only 7,500 in the United States of America that are business coaches specifically, help them try to manage 27 million business owners. And business owners don't want the help because they believe they can go to LinkedIn. They believe they can go to YouTube. They think they can go to Google, and they think they can get all of the answers unless they're in a certain bracket. Again, it's those innovators who understand they're normally making above $250,000 a year. they understand the relevance of team, kind of like all of us on this meeting. This is teamwork. If someone is listening to this, they get the power of all of us on this meeting. They get the insight from all of us on this meeting, different age brackets, different genders, different backgrounds, different professions. So there's a lot to learn if someone is just watching global PR right now, right? So there's just tons of information. And so as we're watching these numbers and we've seen these small coaches unable to handle the mass market, well, they didn't want to, because they wanted to go out. They wanted to have the coffee, like Ken said. They wanted to sit down. Well, now they're forced. Back into Melinda's situation, right? They're forced into a situation that they cannot change. So now they're forced without their will to make the change. And when they make the change, they realize, well, wait a minute, this was better. Not to go down a rabbit hole, but this reminds me of homeschooling. Prior to the pandemic, I would talk to people about homeschooling, and everyone would say, oh my gosh, homeschooling is so great. My child graduated high school at 14. They're in college. They've graduated college at 17 and they've moved on. And everyone else in the neighborhood is still going into senior year, right? They're trying to go to the prom, and this 17-year-old is already graduating college and moving on into their profession. And so now parents are forced into homeschooling, and then they're starting to realize, well, wait a minute, this might be a pretty good thing. So I think the world, as we know it, changes on different levels depending on who the person is. Colleges obviously picked up on that bone a while ago. You can go to school online, right? You didn't have to go into a university. And so now you don't have to go into high school. You can go online. So everything is shifting to technology. And I see remnants of the Terminator, if you will, right? The machines take over the world, right? So what does tomorrow look like? I was walking through Walmart the other day, and I saw this machine going down the aisle, and it's just rolling, and it's got these scan bars just going, and I'm going, what is going on? So I stopped one of the employees there, and I say, what is that thing? And they go, oh, it's taking inventory of all our shelves. And I went, what? I would never thought of that. So now that's where we are today as we look out to McDonald's talking about having automated hamburger makers, right? Uber's flying cars, test flying cars out in Dallas, and automated pilots. So everything is moving to automation. So the transition that we need to make into the new now, and I know Melinda doesn't really like that term. Sorry, Melinda, you could beat me later. The transition that we have to make into this is embracing technology. Technology has been around for a while. It's just, are we embracing it into the industries that we're in? And I think a lot of individuals are afraid of it because they either don't know how to use it or they just don't want to use it for whatever reason that is. But eventually they will have no choice. Technology is going to run the marketplace. And so if we embrace technology, no matter what we're doing, no matter if we're branding majors, if we're writing, Olivia is a great example of that. Olivia could write a 500-page thesis, and then AI is smart enough to take that, and you can send her and say, I would like to write a topic on dogs in Ohio. And it would sound like Olivia written it because it would take her phonetics and the way that she writes, and it would take her terms, and it would construct the story that fit your topic based off of Olivia. It's the weirdest thing in the world, but it's there. But who's using it? No one, because they rather do the busy work.
Yeah.
I think The Guardian dropped an article today written by a robot. Did you see it?
There you go.
No, I didn't see it. So, MaryLou, back to you. What steps can you give us about how to reimagine yourself before you get to that point of being new? How do you get from A to B?
Well, my 6 little steps are know yourself, of course, know what you're good at, what's your passion, what have people said that you're good at. Then differentiating yourself, as we said before, what do you do that might be different from others? Learn something new, 3rd step, and there's so many chances to learn new things these days with colleges giving courses for free and all kinds of webinars. Fourth, creating content like we spoke about. Fifth, championing your brand. In other words, letting people know about it. Sharing your authentic story in a way that will resonate with others. And then finally, pay it forward. And I talk about that a lot. I talk about it in my book on branding. I really believe in it. Pay it forward. You've got a gift. You have something to offer. Offer it to someone else. Help somebody who's looking for work. Help those folks who have suffered through the hurricane in Lake Charles. When you help others, when you pay it forward, it gives you a feeling that you have something of value to offer. And believe it or not, it's going to make you feel better about yourself. Of course, that other person's going to appreciate it. So now you have a win-win scenario. So those are my...
Thank you for your insight. Let's go back to Melinda. We got interrupted by your dog and cat.
And the lawnmower. Okay, so Karlton, no, I don't mind your new now. In fact, I like that. It's new normal that makes me crazy. But the fact that we can now record things and know how to go back and review that information so we can create content, like Olivia is saying. And man, we have so much fodder for content right now. I mean, just look around you. I mean, you can pick any kind of situation and there's some kind of content. If you can't find something to apply to what you do, then you're sleepwalking through life. I really believe that because there is just so much happening all around us all the time. And I want to piggyback on MaryLou about the last. I've always been a huge proponent of paying it forward. I mean, my mom raised us that we always helped other individuals. And, this was certainly not at all my intention, but I've had one board of directors contract me to come in and do a session. Everyone gets a book. In fact, I've already mailed them and do a session for their board members on positive conflict resolution. And I have another organization that is asking me to come in and do the same kind of thing for 24 of their employees. Simply because they reached out to me. First of all, they donated, and then they reached out and said, this is amazing. We want to help. And also really want to talk to you about your book. Because the first thing I did was I had a book campaign where I put it on Kindle for 99 cents. And every book sale went 100% to Laura Relief. I called it HELP. Helping ease Laura's pain. And it was a staggered release, 99 cents one day, $109 the next day, $119 the next day. And really got a lot of traction out of that, sold a lot of books. But the best part about it is, MaryLou, it does feel so awesome to give back. And it feels so good. I mean, it just does something to your soul when you see people who are they're not sure what to do, but they're doing something. They're putting one foot in front of the other. So, yeah, thanks for that. Those are great. I wrote those down. Thank you, MaryLou. I love those 6 tips.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great. Okay, back to Olivia. So you start with a blank piece of paper and then you just start writing things?
No, not at all. It depends what project I'm working on. If it's a request for proposal, then I review the whole document and have a consultation and a strategic meeting with the business development people that I'm working with. It really depends on what project it is. If it's a white paper, then I have to do a lot of research before I even start the process of sitting down and writing. If it's a case study, same thing. I would have to consult with my clients and see what type of client they want to showcase. So it really depends on the project that we're working on. But at the end of the day, it has to be the content has to be action oriented, it has to be engaging, it has to be informative. So whatever it is that you do, make sure that you provide value. And that's one of the things that I love about what MaryLou said in terms of like sharing your knowledge with people. Please do that, because you don't know the type of people that you're inspiring. I actually had a friend and former colleague from a company that I used to work at before I went on my own and started my own company, who reached out to me recently and said, Olivia, I'm so impressed by what you're doing. You're so inspiring. I'm like, really? Like, I'm just doing my thing. I didn't really expect to be inspirational to anybody. I'm just being my real authentic self. I'm doing my thing. And I'm so pleased to hear that. And so she came to me and asked for advice of how do I start my own consulting business? How do I engage with clients? You know, can you help me on the contract side of things? So I was like, wow, this is so cool. So by me sharing my knowledge and me putting myself out there, creating content, creating videos, blog posts, all sorts of different type of content, I'm inspiring people. And I think that's the unique position that we're in, is that we have the opportunity to inspire others to be their best selves. So share your knowledge. And one thing I remember that Karlton said about technology, let me just say, if it wasn't for technology, I wouldn't even be in business. I haven't met one of my clients in person, not one, since I started my business. And most of my clients are actually in the US. I only have a couple here in Canada. So the US is actually my client base, which is awesome. But yeah, technology is something that we need to rely on. And Melinda, something about adapting. We humans have such an amazing way of adapting to change, right? Anything that's thrown at us, we have this amazing way of overcoming it and figuring out ways to adapt to it. So COVID, let's think of it in a positive manner, is it gives us the opportunity to push ourselves out of the box, move into a direction that is better, and we can all sort of come together as one nation, one people, right? Because we're all one people. Who cares where we're from? It doesn't matter. We all have the opportunity to just come together and be better. So I love the whole adapt to change. Either adapt or you die kind of thing, right?
Yeah. Okay, Melinda. Quickly.
Actually, no, I'm just agreeing with everything. I'm loving everything. This is a great panel today. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for doing it. Ken Flornes, let's go back and talk about Primestone and what makes it different than others in the corporate housing business.
Yeah, so there's a variety of corporate housing companies that are global. Some are focused on the B2C customer. Some are focused on the B2B customer. Where focus is primarily B2B, and it's really understanding the clients, the handful of clients that we're dealing with, and making them part of our family. Really making it more of a personal touch service with the Disney smile, but at the same time giving them the reassurance of quality from the actual booking of the reservation to moving in, using the technology to help that process make it seamless, and then while they're staying with us, giving them the technology tools to get, whether they want to go onto our app and order their groceries to be delivered, really that whole guest experience from A to Z, really transforming the hospitality market, not going from our core from at the end of the day, you need to clean apartments when you check in. You can't go away from that with but what you can do is really elevate using technology like we've all been chatting about on this panel, and using that to really give that customer the highest level of service from the initial, reservation to the check-in to the entire stay of the guest, and ultimately when they check out.
So I want to get back to Nick Curtin. In case you don't know, Nick is a native of Coronado, California, here in San Diego, and he's very active in the film festival. Why don't you tell these good people more about yourself? This is really interesting.
Sure. Well, I work with the Coronado Island Film Festival. We're in the 5th year. And of course, the pandemic has really thrown most film festivals into a big tizzy. But we've been very creative in using all the tools that everyone else has talked about here, increasing our social media. And also now we're doing more of our screenings online. But there's also some burnout of watching things online. So with our nice weather here in San Diego, we're able to start doing some outdoor screenings of films. And people like a film festival more, not only seeing the film, but talking with the filmmakers, the writers, the crafts people who put together the films, that behind the scenes information. And so we are panelists quite often on Zoom while we're showing a film. Fundraising has been the big challenge, and that's my area is donor development, because we're not having our parties. That's when people come to parties, and then you schmooze with them, and then you can ask them for their donation. Are you having trouble with the audio?
Yeah, it's breaking up. So, but what we've done in the past is what Joanne and I have done is gone to the Coronado Film Festival. It's almost like a drive-in movie, but it's set up on the beach outside the Hotel Del Coronado, and we sit 6 feet apart, of course. But watching the movie, Some Like It Hot, I guess, was the last one, right?
With Marilyn Monroe and Tony Curtis.
Yeah, right.
Hotel Del
Yeah, so you're getting ready to do another outdoor beach movie?
Yes, we're trying to do one next month. And then our big film festival is during the Veterans Day week, which is November 11th. And we're going to do a film on the golf course. We're going to do a film on top of a parking lot. And people are comfortable coming out, where you can sit a few feet away from other folks, but everyone likes to sit with their own family.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. I'm sorry you're having some audio difficulty there. Okay, let's go back to Stockholm. So, Lena, you're so involved in helping people who are relocating, and now you're helping people across the world through Zoom things, and so I admire that. And following you on Rocket and Slack and some other places, it's real fun, and it's really good to be in this room with you again. And thank you for doing this.
Thank you. I love these. I think they're really great panels. So interesting, nice conversations.
Yeah. So, otherwise we would never get together. I would never love to go to Stockholm and produce a meeting, but not going to happen. So, so I want to say that Ken Flornes and I, the last time we were physically together was in Manhattan, and it was this past February, I think it was the 24th, which is the day before our New York meeting, Feb 25, which was in Times Square in the NASDAQ building inside the offices of the tax firm RSM. And we pulled together about 100 people live, and nobody social distance, I'll tell you that. And I don't think anyone got sick. But, back to the night before, Ken and I met at the bar at the Hyatt at Grand Central. And we talked about doing things together and marketing and advertising. And so here we are today. It's in September. Ken, I thank you for sticking with us, and now for coming on as a co-sponsor. Thank you.
Well, thank you for everyone's time today.
Yeah, it's been real good. So, Ken, what's your email? Do you want to type it into the chat, or?
Sure, I could type it into the chat here for everyone. If there's anyone that has any questions about temp housing and in regards to the other division our firm offers on advisory services, and if there's I'm here. I have a big mouth, so I love to talk. I could talk everyone's ear off here. Next time, maybe we'll do a happy hour Zoom, the Norwegian way.
Skull, indeed.
Skull, exactly. Skull for everyone.
Yeah. Okay, Karlton, why don't you sum up again? What the name of the company is? Pillar?
The name of our company is called I Do Systems, and the software that we developed is called Pillar 5. And I apologize, when I first started, I was doing a very simple introduction. I'm actually the founder and the creator of the software. We started about 5 years ago developing the software to automate the process for business development, to help coaches manage more clients. And business owners can obviously use it independently, but we encourage all entrepreneurs out there. If you're listening to this and you're an entrepreneur, you think about starting a business, or you're in the business and you don't know what life cycle stage you're in, you don't know where you are in your development process, go get a coach. Michael Jordan couldn't win the championship without a coach, and he definitely couldn't win it without a team. So you need those things to build big business. You can't build big build big business by yourself. Just ask Mark Zuckerberg, Mark Cuban, Warren Buffett. None of those guys did it alone. They built team. They used other people around them. So anyway, our company is called I Do Systems. And if you want to check out our software, feel free to do so. Just go to pillar5.com, and I'll drop the URL in the chat. And feel free to have a look at that. And that's who we are. That's
okay. I really appreciate it. I invite you all to come back on Global TV again. We're doing a number of shows. We have a 9/11 tribute show tomorrow, it being the 19th anniversary of that dreadful day. But we're going to be talking a little bit about that, but mainly we're going to be talking about marketing, small business marketing techniques in this current new now. So it's sort of a continuation of what today is all about, but we're going to have different people. But you're welcome to join us. If you're interested, let me know, and I'll get you that official Zoom link that will work. And then I just want to announce a couple of things. On the 17th, we're doing something new. Karlton, you may like this. It's about genius innovations. It could be in any business, not just relocation. But so we're interviewing a couple of people who have created things. So one is in Phoenix, Arizona. Dr. Brian Hageman is an inventor. So he's invented an engine that runs on hot water. Can you imagine that? So there's no pollution and no fossil fuels. And they've tested it, and they've got some funding and rolling it out. So he's going to talk about actually do a demo. And then we have Daniel Cunningham, who some of you have met before on my program. He invented, his company is called CubeMonk.com. And it's about shipping and freight in a container that's modulated, temperature controlled, has like a blockchain technology connected with it. So it's 100% fail-safe, healthy, and clean. And so companies are using it more and more. So he's going to be on our program. And Daniel is also involved in another project that has to do with Aruba in the Caribbean, South Caribbean. Aruba has a need to desalinize salt water for the people in the island. So when I told Daniel about this invention that Dr. Hageman and I are talking about on September 17th, he says, well, I want to go in. In fact, I'm connected with his Aruba thing, and he told me about it, and they could use that machine. So I put them together last week by email, and they're already talking. And so it's like a wonderful thing. So to use your idea of paying it forward, it's just perfect for that kind of a thing, and it's a no-brainer. Just do it. So coming up on the 15th, just Tuesday, we're doing an hour-long tribute to a lady by the name of Nancy Carter, who's based in Orlando. And she's leaving a corporation called Darden Restaurants, which was a spinoff from General Mills. And she's been the relocation manager for 48 years. Can you imagine? And so she's leaving, and so all of her friends in the industry are coming together on a Zoom thing, which I have the honor of hosting. And we're going to have a tribute to Nancy Carter. And so that's really interesting. And then we're going to be doing another media training at the end of September. And there's going to be about 100 broadcasts between now and Christmas, and 300 between now and Christmas 21. So we're going to be broadcasting a lot, and we welcome people to come back and to suggest topics or to suggest someone else that should come on the program and talk about what they're doing. And Karlton, I think what you're doing is applicable to whatever everyone on this program is doing. So please come back and let's stay in touch. Nick, thank you very much for your time. I know you're busy. MaryLou, your items were great. Ken Flornes, thanks for doing this. Hope you get your video working.
Thank you so much, Ed.
Yeah, great. So what's your new address, by the way?
We're located at 641 Lexington Avenue, New York, in the heart of Midtown Manhattan, where all the fun begins.
Yeah, so that's right near the city tower, right?
It's right across the street from the City Corp building. Yes, so it's a great location.
Now, someday I look forward to walking down that street again.
And we would have to have a cocktail. And we have to have a cocktail down the block for sure.
Yeah, right. We'll do one of our meetings, our live meeting.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So, Lena, thanks very much for doing this, and I'm glad that you and Olivia are in cahoots and doing some things together.
She's very helpful. She's a great writer.
So bright. Yeah. So Melinda, what are you teaching your banking students? Oh, could you hear me? Yeah.
I'm basically the leadership development instructor, how to lead their organizations through engagement, through understanding their personality types and their behaviors and their communication styles and communication regulation, conflict management, and do some coaching with them. So it's really interesting because a lot of times people get promoted into these leadership positions because they've excelled at their jobs, but it doesn't mean that they really know how to lead. It's kind of been a default kind of thing. So it's always intriguing. I get to learn a little bit more about the banking industry, which I think that's one of the very best benefits of the job I have of being an industrial organizational psychologist. Whenever I get called in to go to any kind of organization, I get to learn a little bit more about that. And I've learned about everything from tugboats on the Mississippi River to petrochem to banking to higher education. So I'm a blessed woman, and I'm looking forward to, I will connect with each one of you on LinkedIn. I always do that after I get off of one of Ed's wonderful broadcasts. So please, if I can ever be of service to you all, don't hesitate to reach out. I love to pay it forward. I really do. Yeah.
Thanks, Melinda.
Yeah.
Thank you, Karlton. Thank you, MaryLou. Thank you, Lena. I love seeing your doggie. And what's the doggie's name?
He is Elmo.
Elmo.
He's just 6 months.
Wow. So furry.
He likes to, he's a lot. Oh my God. I thought you have the black dog.
Okay.
Yeah, he's like a little baby. So he's very close all the time.
So our motto is enter as strangers, leave as friends, and you guys have done it. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you all. Thanks,
Okay.
Ed, for being
Ciao.
such a nice host.